Hey, this is Dale from Book Brand Business and the Soul Writers Academy, and the subject we're looking at is writer's block. So whether you believe that writer's block exists or not, it is a condition that is primarily associated where the writer loses their ability to produce any new work. Now that can range from coming up for any ideas to not being able to produce work for years and years. Hopefully that's not you. And it's been one of these really, really well documented ideas. I mean, people like, famous authors like F. Scott Fitzgerald and even people like Charles Schulz have had difficulty coming up with content, with stuff to write. And the research really came into being around the 1970s and 80s. And what people were looking at was process. Now, one of the things that I think is really important for a writer is that we understand our writing process and how we create the writer's environment, because that's really going to help us to be able to allow that creativity to flow. But the condition was first really brought into being long before then by a psychoanalyst called Edmund Bergler. Now, Bergler wrote about 25 or more books. He published over 270 articles. So he knew how to produce content, but he had what he called dry moments. Those moments where he just looked at this. I guess he didn't have a screen. He looked at his typewriter. We're so used to talking about computers, aren't we? But for over 20 years, he studied writers, and he said that they suffered from something called, and it sounds really horrible, neurotic inhibitions of productivity. And so what he was doing was studying why people were unable to create. And then he wanted to look at, well, if they can't create and we understand why, what can we do about it? So really, it was looking at the psychological reason, the thing that lay beneath. And what he concluded was, if you remove the psychological blockage, then someone will be able to write. And actually, if you take the word write out, it means that if you take the psychological block out of whatever it is that's stopping you doing something, you should be able to do it. So what kind of psychological blockage might you have? Anxiety, fear, stress, self-criticism. You might lose interest in what you're doing. You might be a perfectionist. You might constantly procrastinate about everything. You might not enjoy the writer's life. It can be fairly solitary. You may feel not good enough. You might compare yourself with somebody else. You might think that writing has too many rules that you've got to follow, when actually all you have to do is write one word followed by another. And you may always need someone else to tell you that your writing is good or appraise it in some way. So all writers stop at some point. I was trying to write something yesterday. It would not, I wrote it, but it felt stiff, uncomfortable, it didn't flow. I probably did about 800-900 words, and what I thought was, actually I'm just going to leave it, and then when I feel so inspired to pick up that piece, I've got a base to work on. But take Ralph Ellison, 40 years to write a novel. So believe you me, there is always a deeper reason. Greene, for example, he had what he called creative blockages. And what he did was keep a dream journal. Now, he was a novelist, but this can work for all kinds of things. And he says nobody can see your dreams but you. No one can sue you for writing down what's in your imagination. So the way that he got through it is he kept this thing called a dream journal, and he wrote whatever came up in his imagination. So that's more about freeing yourself. So start to free yourself. So others have said, they get bored with the content, they go off on a tangent. There's this sense of overwhelm. We talked about losing confidence, etc., etc. And, for some people, having a deadline is the best motivator. You've got 10 blogs to write and you've got 3 hours, you're certainly going to get on with it. So have a look at what others are saying, and then think about, well, if they said that to me, how would I advise them to get over it? And then that would help you. Now, you often get told to visualize, to dream, to change your mindset, and all of it seems, an awful lot easier said than done. Well, I do quite a number of things, like, I think it was yesterday morning, like I said, I just got down what I could, and then I went for a walk. Later in the night, I journaled and wrote, and yes, actually journaling does help the creative writing process. Sometimes I meditate or colour in mandalas. I might put a bit of Nirvana on and have a bit of a dance. I may just sit on the terrace and look at the sky and reflect. But I always say, what else is going on in my life that actually is stopping me wanting to write that piece? I look at the past and I look at the present. I look for linkages about, those connecting pieces. I'm looking for ahas and insights. But I always ask about the piece that I'm writing and say, actually, how does this serve me and how does this serve my readers? And when I think about the piece yesterday, it doesn't fit in. It absolutely didn't fit in with what I wanted to bring out into the world this week, what I wanted to create. But it's there for the future. So just have a little think. Personally, I don't believe writer's block exists. All I believe is there's always something underneath that stops us being able to move forward. And my invitation is for you to pick up a journal and to explore what that might be. So great luck with your writing. My name is Dale. I'm from Book Brand Business and the Soul Writers Academy, and there's several ways that you can connect with me. I have the Big Book Inner Circle, which is a safe place for you to come and explore your writing, whether you're a journaler who wants to explore who you are through writing and find your voice to eventually put your work out in public and possibly write a book. You might be someone who's already writing, who has a desire to write a book and wants someone to hold you accountable. Perhaps you want some peer feedback on your writing. So if you head to the Soul Writers Academy on Teachable, look for the Big Book Inner Circle, and if you use this code 2019 Launch VIP, you can currently join for €47 a month instead of the normal 67. The other thing that you might want to do is try the 7-day book challenge, and again it's on Soul Writers Academy on Teachable, and if you use the code 100FBL02 you can get on that for free. And also look out, because I often run the 7-day book challenge as a live event, but you need to be enrolled on the course first so that you have the content. And obviously you can book in for a call, and I would be delighted to help you get your book ideas out of your head. So that's me. Once again, I'm Dale from Book Brand Business and the Soul Writers Academy.